What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. Today, I'll be taking a look at the intros for the 2025 Chilango 150 at Mexico City. So anyways, let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. We're going to start by talking about the 00 car for the Haas factory team. This one's going to be driven by Sheldon Creed. Sheldon Creed's had a lot of speed in the middle early portion of the season, but unfortunately there's been a lot of bad luck for this team as well. I think Sheldon Creed is due for that first career NASCAR Xfinity victory, and I think he's got a really solid and good opportunity to get that done this weekend in Mexico. I think the speed is going to be there. I look for him to be really good as he's been strong on road courses in previous years and previous seasons as well. Up next, how about the one car for Junior Motorsports? This one's going to be driven by Carson Quaffle. Carson Quaffle's had a lot of speed throughout 2025 and has been one of the strongest cars throughout the season. He's also been pretty solid at road courses, which is a biggest surprise as he was against Connor Zilisch for that win and victory. I look for Carson Quaffle to be a major factor for the win with the speed that the Junior Motorsports cars have shown at these types of tracks. I look for him to have a good chance and opportunity to get the win this weekend at Mexico. Up next, how about the two car for Richard Childress Racing? This one's going to be driven by Jesse Love. Jesse Love has qualified very, very well at road courses in the past and does have a win earlier this season from racing at Talladega or Daytona, I look for Love to have a good opportunity here for maybe a win on a road course. He's a solid road course racer. I think he's going to have some good speed. I look for him to have a good chance and opportunity for a really good run this weekend in Mexico City. Up next, up with the 4 car for Alpha Prime Racing. This one's going to be driven by Parker Reslov. Now, the last time we ran at a road course, Parker Reslov unfortunately failed to qualify. That's not going to happen this time around because everyone will make the field. Parker has been a little bit inconsistent on road courses in the past, so I don't expect it to be a major factor for a good run. I think Alpha Prime is going to do what they can to try to bring the speed, but I think there'll be some inconsistencies and some trouble for this team this weekend. Up next, up with the 5 car for our Motorsports. This one's going to be driven by Chris Wright. Chris Wright has struggled in 2025. One of the worst full-time drivers we have seen so far up to this point. Arguably the worst full-time driver with a lot of crashes, a lot of spins, a lot of other things. I think it'll be a little bit of struggle for Chris to be a big factor, which I wasn't expecting anyways. This car was competing for a playoff spot last year. We're not seeing that this season. I think it will unfortunately be a struggle for Chris Wright in Mexico. Up next, how about the 07 car for SS Greenlight Racing? This will once again be driven by Alex Abay, who make his second or third Xfinity start of the year. Alex Abay, I think, has an outside chance for a really good run. He's a very underrated race car driver, a really solid road course racer. I think this team will have a good chance to increase themselves in the owner's points. I look for him to have a solid run and maybe get a good finish for this team this weekend in Mexico. Up next, up the 7 car for Junior Motorsports. This is once going to be driven by Justin Allgaier. Justin Allgaier is coming off of picking up a dominating win this past weekend in Nashville, and he's been the strongest car throughout the year. And I don't think he's the overall favorite to win, but you never can count Justin Allgaier out. He's a really solid road course racer. He's always up front on a week-by-week basis. I think this team is going to bring the pace and speed. We'll have a good chance and opportunity. I look for him to have a good run and show some great speed at the track because I think he's almost had prior experience, I'm pretty sure, but I look for him to be good this weekend in the Mexico City area. Up next, how about the 8 car for Junior Motorsports? This one's going to be driven by Sammy Smith. After getting in disqualification a couple weeks ago, he's kind of borderline on the playoffs currently at the moment. Sammy Smith, actually he's locked in, so we don't really matter, but he has had some issues when it comes to getting the regular season points. But I think Sammy Smith could be in for a decent run. He's not the best road course racer, to be honest, but I think Sammy Smith could be in for a decent performance. We'll see if Junior Motorsports can bring the pace and speed. They've had the fastest cars overall this year, so we'll see if Sammy can run really good next weekend in Mexico City. Up next up for talk about the 9 car for Junior Motorsports. This will be driven by Daniel Suarez, who will make his first Xfinity Series start since, I believe, 2024 at Daytona or earlier in other tracks in 2024. This is the best opportunity Suarez has had in quite some time. I look for Suarez to be a major factor for the win. That 9 car with Ross Chastain this season has been very, very good. It's been very fast. Like I mentioned, the Junior Motorsports cars have been good. It would not shock me or surprise me if Suarez is able to pick up his first Xfinity win since 2016 when he won the championship race at Homestead. I look for him to be really good this weekend in Mexico City. Up next, how about the 10 car for Colleague Racing? This one's going to be driven by Daniel Dye. Daniel Dye unfortunately got disqualified this past weekend in Nashville Super Speedway a couple weeks ago, which is a shame because I think Daniel Dye has showed some really good speed at times. He's been the strongest Colleague car at points this season. I do look for him to have some decent speed. I don't think he's going to be a major factor for the win by any stretch of imagination, but the Colleague cars have been good at road courses in the past. We'll see if Daniel Dye can be a factor for a solid run this weekend in Mexico. Up next up, the 11 car for Colleague Racing. This one's going to be driven by Josh Williams. Josh Williams has shown some decent speed at times this year and has had some better finishes generally than he's had last season, but there's also been a lot of struggles with the 11 team because there also has been a ton of inconsistencies. I think Josh Williams will do what he can to try to get the best finish and best that he can do. We'll see if he can run well and show some okay speed in Mexico. Up next up, the 14 car for SS Greenlight Racing. This will be driven by Josh Blicky, who I believe will make his first Xfinity Series start with the team this year. Josh Blicky, I think, is a sleeper pick. He's been really good at road courses. We saw what he did, of course, with Joe Gibbs Racing last year. I think he's done a really good job with programs in the past, getting the best out of equipment. We'll see if Josh Blicky can be a decent factor and a contender for a good run in Mexico. Up next up, the 16 car for Colleague Racing. This one's going to be driven by Christian Eckes. Christian Eckes is looking for some turnarounds. This team has had a lot of bad luck this year. I think Christian Eckes has had a lot more speed than the results have shown this year. I think he's been up front a lot more consistently, and I think he'll be in for a race where he can turn around. We'll see if they can turn around. The call cars, like I mentioned, have been good at this track in the past. I think he might be in for an okay run this weekend in Mexico. Up next up at the 18 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. This one's going to be driven by William Sawalsh. William Sawalsh has struggled immensely this year. There's been a lot of mistakes. Even when he has speed, he ends up crashing out quite a bit. He needs to have a turnaround run. He did get a top 10 at COTA earlier this season, so maybe that's where the turnaround comes. But I don't think it'll be a major factor. I think there's some struggles coming away once again, like we've seen a lot this season for William Sawalsh in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Up next up, the 19 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. This one's going to be driven by Ty Gibbs, who will make his first Xfinity Series appearance of 2025. Ty is looking for that experience to try to help him going into Mexico City, which we know Ty is a really good road course racer. I think Ty will be actually a pretty big factor for the win in the Xfinity race. I think the car is going to be fast. I think he certainly will be strong. I think he will be a contender for a potential victory this weekend in Mexico City in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Up next up, the 20 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. This one's going to be driven by Brandon Jones. Brandon Jones has shown some really good speed throughout the season so far, but there's also been a lot of inconsistencies with this program. I think Brandon Jones could have a decent chance, but he's also had a lot of bad luck at road courses historically, so I worry about the bad luck, but I think we'll have an okay car and maybe does get some good luck his way at road courses. Up next up with the 21 car for Richard Childress Racing. This one's going to be driven by Austin Hill. Now, Austin Hill, I believe, has been a previous winner at road courses, or actually almost beat Shane Van Gisbergen earlier this year, and actually nearly won the Xfinity Series race at COTA last year as well before making mistakes and getting into SVG. I think he's got a chance to win. I think 21 car is going to be fast. He's had some speed on these types of tracks. A really good super speedway racer, but also a pretty solid road course racer as well. Up next up with the 24 car for Sam Hunt Racing. This will be driven by Christopher Bell and make his first non-Joe Gibbs Racing start, I believe, in a very long time. I think Christopher Bell will actually be a factor for the win, despite the fact that this is a Sam Hunt Racing car. I think JGR is going to be helping this car in a pretty big way. I look for him to have a great chance and opportunity to go to victory. He's a really good road course racer, and that experience will help him in the NASCAR Cup Series event on Sunday afternoon. Up next up with the 25 car for AM Racing. This one's going to be driven by Harrison Burton. Now, Harrison Burton has been very impressive so far this season, but there's also been a lot of times this year, especially on road courses, where that 25 has struggled. They struggle with Logano to make races, they struggle with Haley Deegan to make races, and in general, I think that could affect Harrison Burton, unfortunately, this weekend. He looks for a good run. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but if the luck can come his way, maybe things can go well for him and actually run good. Up next up, the 26 car for the Sam Hunt Racing team. This will once again be driven by Dean Thompson. Dean Thompson, in my opinion, has been solid and impressive times throughout the 2025 year. I've liked the speed from this car at times. I'm just not sure if Dean Thompson will be a factor for the win at the track. I think he could have a decent performance. I know Sam Hunt is going to do what they can to give him the best car. We'll see what we can do. We'll see if Dean Thompson can have a good run this weekend in the Mexico City area. Up next up, the 27 car for Jordan Anderson Racing. This one once again be driven by Jeb Burton. Jeb Burton is not always getting the best finishes, but he is getting a lot of stage points this year. And I look for this team to go for strategy. Their goal, in my opinion, is going to be going after those stage points, which I certainly think he will be a factor to get a lot of those stage points throughout the 2025 year, including this weekend in Mexico. I think he's going to have a solid car. We'll see if he can show that pace and speed. I think he will have a pretty good car this weekend out on the racetrack, and we'll see if they can bring that good speed that they've shown in the past here. Up next up, the 28 car for RSS Racing. This one's going to be driven by Kyle C. Kyle Sieg's been involved in some controversy recently with Parker Reslap at Nashville, but I think that Kyle Sieg is also going to struggle a little bit. He has not been the best road course racer in the past. I think because of that lack of experience, I think that will unfortunately affect him. I think he's going to do what he can to run very well. I don't expect much, unfortunately, though, for Kyle Sieg. I think it's going to be a little bit of struggle for the number 28 program. I don't think it'll be a major factor. There's a lot of work to do and a lot of things he'll need to do to be a contender out on the track. Up next up at the 31 car for Jordan Anderson Racing. This one's going to be driven by Blaine Perkins. Blaine Perkins this season has had some decent speed, but has had a lot of bad luck, but he was also very good at COTA earlier this year. I think he's a decent road racer. I look for them to have some decent speed. I think they're going to do what they can to try to bring the best car out there with another guy we'll talk about in just a second. We'll see what we can do this weekend when we do get to Mexico City. Up next up at a 32 car for Jordan Anderson Racing. This one's going to be driven by Austin Green. Austin Green is not the best oval racer at this point, but he's been a really good road course racer. I think he is a sleeper pick to win this weekend. He's never ran at this track before, but he's been really good at road courses. Plus, he picked up a win in the ARCA race earlier this year at Charlotte. Claytis, of course, ran in that race, but I do think he'll have a good performance. We'll see what he can do, and we'll see if he can bring the pace and speed this weekend in Mexico City. Up next up to the 35 car for Joey Gase Motorsports. There's been no official announcement and confirmation on who's going to be behind the wheel of this race car. We're just going to have to wait and see at this point. I would love to see a driver from like Mexico maybe get behind the wheel like a Jorge Getters or something like that, or someone else in that area. I think it'd be cool. Or maybe somehow get Michelle Jordan Jr. out of retirement, or get someone from Mexico like Adrian Fernandez. That'd be cool. We'll have to kind of wait and see who does get behind the wheel of that seat. Up next up, the 39 car for RSS Racing. This one's going to be driven by Ryan Sieg. Ryan Sieg has had a lot of speed throughout the 2025 season, but has also had a ton of bad luck at times as well. I think Ryan's in for a good run in all honesty. If they could bring the pace and speed and the luck, I think he could be in for a good run. He's had some good finishes at these types of tracks before, so we'll see what he can do, and we'll see if Ryan Sieg can be a factor and maybe a good contender for a great finish this weekend in Mexico City with the RSS Racing team and org. Up next up with the 41 car for the Haas Factory team. This one's going to be driven by Sam Mayer. I expect Sam Mayer to be a major factor for the win. He is a really good road course racer. He won the Charlotte Roval, I think, back-to-back years in 24 and 2023. Also won a Watkins Glen in 23 and Road America as well. I think he's got a good shot for the victory. He's going to have a fast car. We know those cars have been really strong at the road courses. I think they're going to bring the speed. We'll see what Sam Mayer can do. I think he'll be in for a solid run this weekend in Mexico. Up next up with the 42 car for Young's Motorsports. This one's going to be driven by Anthony Alfredo. Anthony Alfredo has actually had some decent runs at road courses, and Young's Motorsports has shown some decent speed on these types of tracks, but I don't think it'll be a major factor for the win, but I think a top 20 is certainly possible. With the depth of the field, it's going to be a very competitive field this weekend at the track. We'll see if he can bring the speed. I think he's in for an okay run for sure this weekend in Mexico. Up next up with the 44 car for Alpha Prime Racing. This one's going to be driven by Brennan Poole. Brennan Poole is outperforming that equipment this season. Those cars should not be always up there the way Brennan is doing it, and yet he's getting a lot of really good finishes with this program. I think he's in for a top 15 run in all honesty. He's a solid road course racer too. Showed that at Chip Ganassi Racing a few years ago. I think he may show some stuff. We'll see what we can do this weekend, and maybe he does get a good finish at the racetrack in Mexico City. Up next up with the 45 car for Alpha Prime Racing. This one's going to be driven by Brad Perez. Brad Perez is getting another chance and opportunity. I think Brad will be someone that will contend for a top 20. Brad's a good road course racer. He can always get the best out of equipment. I think they're going to have a good opportunity for the run. We'll see what it can do, and we'll see if Brad can run well, but I think he will have a good run for sure this weekend in Mexico City with this team. Up next up with the 48 car for Big Machine Racing. This one's going to be driven by Nick Sanchez. Nick Sanchez has been really doing a good job with the car, and I think he's been criminally underrated in the team this year. He's been doing about as good as Parker Kligerman. Now, I don't think it'll be as big of a factor as Parker Kligerman was at these types of tracks, but I think he's going to have a really good car. I think they're going to have the pace and speed. I think they'll do what they can with the RCR and ECR engines. We'll see if it can be a factor this weekend in Mexico. Up next up at the 51 car for Jeremy Clements Racing. This one's going to be driven by Jeremy Clements. Jeremy Clements has definitely shown some good speed at times this year and has qualified pretty well, but also hasn't had the best results out on the track. If luck can go his way, I think Jeremy could get a top 20s. I think there's going to be a lot of crashes that will take place in Xfinity and Cup as well. We'll see what Clements can do, but I think he has a good chance and opportunity, at least for maybe getting an okay and solid finish this weekend at Mexico City. Up next, how about the 53 car for Joey Gase Motorsports? We will see Sage Karam behind the wheel of this car. I think this will be the first time Karam has driven for the team this year. Sage Karam is a pretty solid road course guy. He, of course, is not full-time in racing anymore currently at the moment. I think he's involved in housing development, all that kind of stuff. But Sage Karam is looking for a good run with this program. He's a good road racer. He could be a sleeper for a solid run. We'll see what we can do this weekend with this team in Mexico. Up next up at the 54 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. This one once going to be driven by Taylor Gray. I have been impressed with Taylor Gray at times this year. He's been one of the more impressive rookies this year. He's shown some really good speed and pace on these types of tracks. I think they're going to do what they can to bring a good car for him. I think he'll have a really strong car. The performance has been there for the team this year. I think Jason Radcliffe will do what he do and do what he can, do the best for him to get a great run this weekend in the NASCAR Xfinity Series race in Mexico and try to get that first career win as well. Up next, up with the 70 car for the Cope family racing team. This one once going to be driven by Thomas Annuzzi-Etta. Thomas is a really good road course racer, has a lot of experience in Trans Am, and has been really good at ARCA racing. Now, he failed to qualify for the race at COTA, but that was due to transmission trouble. If they don't have that kind of stuff coming away, top 20 is very possible, maybe even top 15 as well. There's been some struggles at times for this team, but I think he'll be in for a good run. He'll be in for a good performance, and I think Thomas will have a good chance and opportunity for a solid and decent performance, definitely, this weekend in Mexico City with this team. Up next, I'm going to 71 car for DGM Racing. This will once again be driven by Ryan Ellis. Ryan Ellis, in my opinion, has been starting to show a little bit some flash of brilliance and got a top 10 not too long ago at Charlotte. I don't think Ellis will be a contender, unfortunately, though, considering the fact he is not the best road course racer historically. If he can survive some of the cars, maybe gets a decent finish, but I think he'll be one of the lower cars in the field, unfortunately. I think there'll be some struggles, and I think there'll be some work to do. We'll see what we can do this weekend, though, at this track. Up next, how about the 88 car for Junior Motorsports? This will once again be driven by Connor Zilisch. Connor Zilisch comes into this weekend as the odds-on favorite to win, as we've seen how amazing it is at road courses. He won at COTA and Watkins Glen, and I think that will likely continue this weekend. He's already my pick to win this weekend because I think that 88 car is going to be so dominant. He's going to have some competition from guys like Suarez and Gibbs and Quaffle and Allgaier and all those guys, but at the end of the day, I think the speed will be there. He's going to also make a cup start later this year. Watkins Glen on a road course. I think we all know the type of tracks that Zilisch is good at. I think he'll be the favorite for the overall win this weekend at Mexico City in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Up next, up at the 91 car for DGM Racing. This will be driven by Andres Perez, who will make his NASCAR Xfinity Series debut this weekend in Mexico City. He, of course, runs full-time in the Truck Series with Spire, shows some decent speed, got a top 15 finish in the Truck Series race, and he also won the ARCA Championship last year. He is looking to be a surprise candidate for a solid performance. He has prior experience at this track since he is, of course, from Mexico. That experience could come into play and could play a major role in a good run. We'll see if Andres can do a really good job in his first ever NASCAR Xfinity Series start this weekend in Mexico. And finally, let's talk about the 99 car for Viking Motorsports. This will once again be driven by Matt DiBenedetto. Now, this team has had a lot of bad luck in recent weeks, but I actually think Matt DiBenedetto could be in for a good run. If this team doesn't have any sort of mechanical gremlins and issues, I think Matt DiBenedetto, in all honesty and seriousness, could be in for a solid performance. He's been really good at road courses in the past if you go back to his Cup days and also even his Truck Series days with Rackley War. I look for him to have some good speed, and I think if they can bring it, a top 15 is possible. We'll see if Matt DiBenedetto can do it. I think he will have a good chance for a good run this weekend in Mexico City. So, that is going to be it for the interest video for the 2025 Chilango 150 in Mexico. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me to our Facebook and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Let's get some more of that and comment your thoughts below on today's video. What thoughts about the interest? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Who's your early pick to win the race? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If any major news breaks later today, we'll discuss it live on the channel. If not, the next time we're going to see me is tomorrow. We're going to talk a little about Bob Parker's silly season report, talk about Jess Love maybe going to Legacy Motor Club down the road, some Dodge stuff around like Cletus and all that kind of stuff as well. Maybe RFK Racing may be interested in going back to Truck Series racing in the future, among other things as well, along expansion going Xfinity Racing for that program. We also tomorrow are going to have a news video. We'll also have the race picks for the Xfinity race, and then Thursday, Cup race picks of Viva Mexico 250 along with the paint scheme video and some other good content you'll be seeing on the channel over the next couple days. We're going to have a Mexico preview potentially this weekend as well, maybe on Friday. Who knows at this point? We got a lot of practice happening Friday that I think everyone should be excited for. We got content coming on people like Haley Deegan, Shane Gisberg, and Cards, Kurt Busch, Kyle Kyle Busch, Bubba Wallace, Ross Chastain, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Frankie Muniz, Cletus McFarlane, all the good stuff. Carson Quaffle, Junior Motorsports, Connor Zolch, you name it. We'll talk about all this stuff on the channel in the coming days of weeks, along with Eric Romerol and Sam Mayer. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.